My brother tried to force his golden child onto our trip and used her feelings as a weapon when I said no. I'm a 38-year-old guy from a small town in Ohio, but I've spent the last decade working contract jobs abroad, which means I see my family in short, intense bursts instead of steady weekends, and maybe that distance is why I noticed the imbalance before others admitted it. My older brother Mark is 46 and has 4 kids from 2 marriages, 3 with his first wife, Laura, and 1 with his current wife, Erin, and from the outside it looks normal, but inside that house, everything runs on invisible lines. The oldest 3, Kyle, 20, Ben, 18, and Lucy, 14, are quiet, independent, and used to hearing maybe later, while Erin's daughter, Poppy, 9, lives in a bubble of praise, gifts, and protection that never pops. I don't hate Erin, but she treats motherhood like a spotlight with only one person allowed on stage. After Poppy was born, Erin quit her job, Mark picked up endless overtime, and the household quietly split into 2 worlds. Erin and Poppy going out for brunches, trips, and activities, while the older kids stayed home, learned to cook for themselves, and figured things out early. I called Mark out more than once, and every time he said keeping the peace was easier than starting another war. My wife and I don't have kids, but we've always tried to be steady adults for the older 3, helping with first cars, job applications, college visits, and once a year, taking them on a modest trip when we're back in the States. Nothing fancy, just time away from the house where no one feels second place. This year, because of my work schedule, we planned a fall trip to New Mexico, hiking, photography, and cheap motels. Perfect for teenagers who don't need constant supervision. I sent Mark the dates. His reply came fast, "So Poppy's coming too, right?" I said no, gently, explaining that 4 kids changed the entire dynamic, and we weren't comfortable taking a 9-year-old without a parent on a rugged trip built for older teens. That should have been the end of it, but Mark pushed, saying Erin could come along, which was an instant no, because the point of the trip was to get the kids out of that tension, not bring it with us. Then he suggested our dad, who has early Parkinson's, and I knew the conversation had already gone off the rails. I stood firm, and that's when the tone shifted. Mark started sharing vague posts about family who only show up when it's convenient, and relatives began messaging me, asking why I was punishing a child. I ignored it until my wife asked the question that hit hardest. Were we, unintentionally, reinforcing the same favoritism by always taking the same 3? I sat with that guilt longer than I want to admit. Then one night, Mark called and put Poppy on the phone without warning. She was crying so hard she could barely speak, saying she'd be quiet, that she wouldn't complain, that she just wanted to come because everyone else always gets to do things without her. Hearing that from a kid broke something in me. But then she said, through sobs, "Daddy says it's because I'm difficult," and I knew exactly what was happening. When Mark took the phone back, he said, "See, she's devastated. You happy now?" and hung up. The next morning, I learned the full picture from Lucy. Money was tight. Erin's parents had lost a big chunk of savings, and suddenly the family couldn't afford both Poppy's private school and vacations. So Erin framed it as Poppy having to earn things by being good, and when she didn't get her way, blame followed. That wasn't my mess to fix, but I wasn't going to be used as leverage either. My wife and I decided we'd keep the original trip for the older 3, set a clear boundary that we wouldn't negotiate through guilt or crying children, and offer Poppy something separate and age-appropriate later on without Erin's interference. I called Mark, told him the tickets were being booked that afternoon, and cut him off when he started arguing. I said I loved Poppy, but I would not participate in emotionally manipulating her to solve adult problems. I told him the real division started years ago when love became conditional in that house. He said I was choosing sides. I said I was choosing sanity. I called Poppy afterward and told her plainly that she wasn't bad, that adults sometimes make unfair decisions, and that we'd spend a day together in winter doing something just for her if her parents agreed. She sniffed, asked if we'd get hot chocolate, and said okay. I booked the tickets, muted my phone, and focused on the plan. Now the family says I'm cruel and heartless, but the truth is, I'm done letting boundaries be painted as betrayal.